Rob, good to see you. Just when we need the penalties given out by the stewards in traffic around here, nothing happening. You got carved up big time this morning getting here, I gather?
I got chopped. You know, the left-hander, it's a 90 left onto Putney Bridge after you've gone over down Lower Richmond Road. There are two lanes that turn left, and there's a chap in a Euro box, of some sort, not young either, and he was on the outside, so I'm on the inside. And halfway around the corner, he just turned, sharp left to use up both lanes. And I backed out of it, obviously. Cyclist was beside us riding along. And as we're going over Putney Bridge, the cyclist is talking to me going, that was that close. And I said, well, it's the old racing story. You go on the outside, you take your chances.
Well, as I say, we need penalties here, and this is when we really do need penalties, as distinct from a Formula One race.
I would have issued one. I've already got them under, what do they say, under investigation.
Rob, we've had a lot of fun looking at some of the onboards that the public don't normally get to see all of them from the British Grand Prix. And in the show, as you know, we talked to Derek Daly, and he does a great job describing Lewis's qualifying lap and how good he was through that little section where Derek happened to be watching from ground level at the BRDC at the top of the circuit, going the left and the right. Where I was watching, I was higher up. I was about 3 tiers up, looking at the entry into that tight left-hander followed by the tight right. On Lewis's pole lap, he actually... He didn't. I wouldn't say missed the apex, because I don't know where Lewis's apex is anyway. It's defining an apex, but he definitely looked to be almost on a constant radius through that left-hander, as if something had not gone quite right. And I was talking to Jock Clear a little bit earlier in the week, and he said, yeah, sure enough, Lewis on that pole lap actually went for the gear a fraction too soon, or the gear didn't come in as it should.
On the downshift.
Yeah, on the downshift,
right.
And he ran a fraction wide, which is what we saw, and what Derek saw was Lewis's beautiful application of steering input and throttle against traction and getting it perfect on that change of direction. What I saw was Lewis running slightly wide, but nonetheless incredibly quick. And it's amazing that he did get that pole lap by 4/10, even though he had that slight glitch there.
Well, we're not huge fans on you must hit that turn-in point, that apex precisely every time, or rather, it's good to, but it doesn't exclude you from doing the fastest lap. It's a matter of taking the weight and the shape, take the shape of the corner generally. And what Lewis had found there is he'd gone for the downshift a little bit early. These days, of course, if it's a bit over the revs, it won't take the gear shift. In the old days, you would have put the valves would have hit the head and the engine. It would have engaged. That wouldn't have been a good thing either. And so therefore, he didn't have as much engine braking coming into the corner. He'd have worked this out in an instant. I'm arriving there a few K faster than I really want to. So therefore, I won't turn the wheel quite as abruptly. I won't attempt to make the apex. I will just turn the wheel a little bit slower, run a little bit wide, and I'll go with a flowing left-right rather than a solid direction change. Time loss, probably minimal. He would have actually picked up a bit of time going up towards the apex, as we sort of think it is, under braking, because it didn't slow down as much. And he would have maybe lost a fraction on the exit. But then it's only an incredibly short straight. It's not really even a straight. You're then turning sharp right again. So if there was going to be a loss on the exit, it didn't accumulate over that section.
But you've made the point before that Lewis, when I think you were comparing him with Fernando, that Lewis very naturally finds little, as you call them, flat spots in which to make changes of direction or to brake or whatever he needs to do for whatever's coming up. Would he have had to create a different flat spot for the car there in order to do that change of direction after that moment?
No, he probably wouldn't have even found the flat spot. He would have given that one up. He would have thought, well, I've actually picked up maybe a few hundreds going in because I went in too fast. Yeah. I'm going to lose a bit coming out because of that. But the penalty is short, because then you're starting again for the next corner. So it's it's just a bit like, I won't lift until I get to the apex type of thing. You haven't got a long straight after. If you've been turning on to Beckett Straight or something after that, there may have been a lot more of a loss that accumulated, but it was, the net loss would have been minuscule. It was a mistake, but he fixed it.
And when I say flat spot, just to clarify that, what we're talking about is a place to make the car flat, as distinct from flat spotting the tyres, obviously. It's what,
that comes
clear.
Automatically these days with the tyres.
And we talk also in the show about Jean-Eric Verne and his moment at Beckett's. when he wasn't actually disturbed by turbulence, we think. But what actually happened there? How would that have got away from him with the grip level he would have had on that set of tyres in Q2?
I think two factors here. One, there could have been a slight distraction knowing that Vettel was ahead. Sometimes it just may have caught the corner of your eye somewhere and you may not have been thinking it. Distractions, do occur out there. They put it down to, or rather it was put down to maybe a loss of downforce because, way up the road there's another car, breathing the same air. But in truth, what I think, and I think it was almost predictable, there was the in-car with him when we were watching him, massively committed going through the couple of corners before, brilliantly fast. I mean, real racing driver stuff. And I think what happens, and we've talked about this before on the show, and sometimes this is a survival instinct. If you've made a mistake a couple of corners, you go a bit slower coming into the next corner. Also, equally, if you've had the best ever exit you've had from a previous corner, there's sometimes an attempt by a driver to superimpose that gain on the next bit that's coming up that didn't need a gain. And I think it was more that he got a fantastic left, right. It was so committed, and then after that maybe thought he could pick up a couple of K on the next bit as well. It does happen. You see it quite a lot, and I think it was that a superimposing of the gain that he got on the previous corner onto the next bit. Does happen, and that's what was almost predictable, I think.
Two final things, Rob. One, on the show, Derek Daly refers to, in his opinion, Lewis Hamilton being a scoosh quicker than his teammate Nico Rosberg. And I just wondered, you know the Irish well, exactly how much a scoosh is and what measurement that is. He uses that word twice.
Yes, well, a scoosh, it's like the the slight lack of sugar that went into my cappuccino here. That I would have had that a little bit more. Scoosh, I think, is about this much, and I think Derek has picked that up from Ireland there somewhere. Yeah, a scoosh.
And it's absolutely spot on, probably, when referring to the difference between Lewis and Nico.
It's probably true. It's about who crosses the finish line sooner, though. And when I'm with drivers sometimes, I say, look, you're already fast. We're not talking about making you a faster racing driver. We're just talking about you have crossed the finish line a bit sooner. And so there's more to it than just having the greatest natural ability. But we know what he means, and I think you can get away with a scoosh. I've never heard of a scoosh.
Rob, finally, the other point, Lewis, how he was driving at Silverstone in general, how would you describe his lap?
Oh, superb. And if you look at in-car stuff, he's effectively driving the entire lap with his feet. He's feeling the grip, as all drivers have to do, but incredibly sensitive feet there. A little bit more throttle, a little bit less. Yes, I'm okay. I'll go with that bit. Now I can get full throttle. I've got a bit of push. That's perfect. That equals traction. All that stuff will have been going through his mind. And fantastic footwork. And I don't just mean efficiency. I mean feeling what's going on as you put your foot down and then adjusting to it or taking advantage of it.
And what a shame we don't have footwell cameras these days.
Well, yes, there's less to see there, though. When we could watch heel and toe and such like, it was more interesting, and feet were going like this, and their shoelaces done up, and so this. I mean, Innes Ireland, when he had the front come off his Lotus 19 in a sports car race once, so the first time he'd seen his feet flapping away there, that looked really funny. It happened to me at Brands Hatch, the Formula Ford Festival. I had dice with Jan Lammers for the whole race, and I had no front bodywork and therefore no mirrors, and my feet were flapping away there. It is quite interesting. Whether it's as interesting now, I don't know. But anyway.
Well, two pedals.
But
who's overlapping, who's not.
You wouldn't be able to see it, though. You wouldn't be able to see what was going on with the feet. You wouldn't be able to tell what he was feeling as a result of this amount of pressure on the brake, this amount of pressure on the throttle, this easy stuff. You need to feel it. So just looking at it, you can get a funny idea of what's going on.
Rob, time to order some main course, I think. Fish and chips, are we going to have? Baked potato, steak and kidney pie?
Or steak and kidney pie. They have steak and kidney pie.